Dave Katz.
I'm Mikey Dobbs.
And I'm Carmen Butler.
And this is
the ATL On Fire podcast show.
So here's the thing, right? So what he's done is, for the most part, and after this, we're going to show a couple of exceptions where we were literally back to last year. I think I'm going to give Pineda credit. So he realized that one of the things that we often had was the two outside backs were so far up that they would instantly, the moment the ball turned over, they would be ahead of both of our right and left backs, right? And it was just counterattack city, right? Which we talked about a lot on the podcast last year and even in the preview this year. So his solution is really that we're going to kind of play three in the back, and it's most often going to be Gutman, Purata, and Robinson, as I've shown here. And they're going to be sort of three across the middle. And what that means is that offensively, Lennon is a winger. And occasionally when we're on defense, he gets back as a right back. But mostly he's a winger, which is, to be honest, what he should be, because defensively he's not strong, right? But here's the problem. So first of all, when Lennon was up here, as he was almost the entire game, right, he is completely stifling Araujo, because all he's doing is bringing another defender over there. And Araujo, instead of so what should be happening is, if Lennon were anywhere back normally, now Araujo should have the whole right side to himself, and that's what you want, right? But he can't, because Lennon is up there all the time. So Araujo is trying to make this run in the middle, right? And, Araujo had another absolute frustrating nightmare. So I think, to me, this is really hampering Araujo. And again, the other team, how to beat Atlanta United, you just allow Brooks Lennon to be out there. He was out there open all day, and it didn't do any good. He made one real offensive contribution late in the game where he showed up in the 6-yard box, but he wasn't even out wide. He just showed up as an extra striker, which, okay, but I would like to have him show up as that extra striker a lot without being out wide there all the time, right? There's no problem with him doing that.
Yeah, by Lennon being out there, you saw over and over again Araujo feeling the pressure and making bad mistakes of trying hero shots from way outside the 18,
right,
and hitting it into the stands.
Because there's nowhere for him to run by people. He doesn't have that freedom of motion because Lennon's out there crowding his space. Okay, but here's the other problem, and I'll put the ball, where it's just turned over or something, right? So we turned it over somewhere in here, and they win it, right? Here's the other thing, right? So because Lennon is up the field all the time, he has made Robinson responsible for in behind there. Now, that's an improvement in some respects. At least it's not Ibarra, although you saw it on this last clip that we played. It was Ibarra. But anyway, mostly it's not Ibarra. Mostly it's Robinson playing that role, right? So now Purata is matched up 1v1 with their striker. But because of that, he has Gutman here. We've shown it now twice, right? Gutman is right in the center of the pitch. And what that does, as you saw on this goal, right, is it leaves all day out here, right? This ball here, right, they had open all day long, right? And on top of that, now Robinson, who's our best defender, is out wide where he can't stop something going right up the middle. So multiple times in this game, they just played right out to the open number 11 in this case, right? And then it's scramble city, right? Gutman has to kind of try to come over here. And then, he's late, and you saw him get all the way to the end line, right? And after that, in the end of the day, Lennon is sprinting back, right? He's coming back in here, but Robinson doesn't want to leave this guy yet. So at the last minute, Purata will leave his guy to help over here. Robinson's trying to switch here, and Lennon's trying to get back in here. And it's like a last-second 3-player shift, right? It's never going to work. Never, right? And all of this The only reason to do any of this, Mikey Dobbs, is if Brooks Lennon you consider to be your most dangerous player.
Yep.
Right? Because this system, it's like the entire system has been devoted to getting Brooks Lennon open on the right.
Which absolutely crushes Araujo's freedom and what his
Yes.
strengths are.
And honestly, who would you rather have open on the right, Lennon or Araujo?
That's amazing, man.
Why? 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 Okay, so
And is this also, in your opinion, a detriment to Conway too, who was invisible, right? Because in this scene, right, it pinches Araujo into Conway's space, and it's like a little bit of a cascading.
Araujo goes into Conway space, Conway goes into Almada space, and it's all cascading. I agree with you completely, because Lennon is there. And again, it's one thing if Lennon occasionally makes a run forward in a dynamic fashion. If Araujo runs out of space and he's drawn a lot of people and now he overlaps into a dynamic, that's great. But that's when he needs it. The most of the time, if I were playing behind Araujo, I wouldn't go anywhere close to him.
Right.
If he gets in a one-on-one on the outside, as we're going to see in a minute when we show the clip, right? I mean, forget it. There is nobody in space who can handle him.
Yep.
Right? But he didn't have any space because Lennon was in the space.
Oy vey.
So his solution over this, he watched the clips over the season and over the off season, right? Pineda. And his solution was, look, we don't want to be caught as many times with only two in the back. And so we're going to play unbalanced with Lennon forward all the time and Gutman back most of the time. That'll allow us to play a standard three.
Yep.
But when you play a standard three, now Miles Robinson is over as right back, Gutman is the center back, Parada is the center back, and Gutman is the left back.
Yep.
And because it's an unbalanced version of that, it's not even a straight version of that. He has Gutman coming in so far to make sure that nobody runs through the middle, that we're giving out that weak side wide open. And they used it, and a terrible team used it, right? But that's how he gave up the goal.
100%.
Yeah.
So
there's that. All right, get back here, Dave.
Cat speaks the truth.
That right there is the truth. I mean,